Tech Heads, back again. We return this week to go deep on the importance of APIs, how we utilize them as developers, and how you can build your own in minutes. We also lightly touch on some of our favorites and recommend a couple you can try out on your next project. Listen, if you don't know what the I'm saying, don't worry. We also shoot the usual shit and share some laughs along the way. This is Tech Heads.
4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
So, here we go.
How you all feel tonight?
Let's get started.
Tech Heads coming at you with another ep. We're what is this, episode 8? We're finally at 8. We're already creeping on number 10. I'm feeling much more energized than usual, I think, just because we're doing another evening edition, which we can hopefully make it the norm, because I don't like doing 8 a.m. pods, but with me as always, of course, is Anna, holding it down on the East Coast.
Woo woo!
How's it going in the future?
Yeah, this what is it? Daylight time that we're on now. It's nice.
Yeah, you're an EDT now.
EDT, it is. Yeah, I was actually, just at the park with my girlfriend Sam and the dog, so we get to enjoy, the sunsets. I mean, it's now 8, almost 9 p.m. here, and it's just getting dark, so it's nice to enjoy, the longer days.
It's nice, yeah. It's confusing though, because when we go into daylight savings, some places don't, like Cancun.
Right.
And it's just I only say Cancun because I had a meeting with somebody in Cancun on Zoom, and I told them I'm Pacific, so we're going to have to do, whatever time I said.
Right.
And then they were like, oh, so you're 3 hours ahead of Eastern time. I was like, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Just got really confusing because I knew he was EDT.
Yeah.
And then even he got confused. It's like, oh, yeah, it's daylight savings time. I'm like, you don't observe, you don't do that.
Right. That's true. I was actually, I think at my new job, but we're just talking about how Florida last year was submitting not a petition, but the senators had signed to make EDT into our, just our official time. We would never have EST anymore. But then COVID happened, so I don't even know where that stands right now.
Well, let's get that going.
It makes sense. I mean, it is super dark in the mornings, but I feel like I get so much more done now because you have more light at the end of the day. But like you said, it does screw you up. Like this week, I had one night that I could not sleep, and I think it's been 2 to 3 weeks since we had the time change, and I'm still not fully, I think, used to it. It is just nice though. I mean, the days feel longer. This past week feels like it was so long, but then again, we, got so much done. So I think that's a plus.
1000%. It does feel really good when you're off work and you're like, oh, it's still sunny.
Yeah.
And especially, up here in terms of latitude, our days, they're so long in the summer. It's insane.
Uh-huh.
It gets sunset at 9 p.m. in the middle of summer. It's insane.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But then when you're tired, you're like, okay, I want it to be dark now. I remember I was in, I think I was in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I was in Victoria or Vancouver. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's the same area. But I was up there, and it's even farther north than here, and it was in the summer, and the sun, it was still pink outside. The sun was down, but it was still pink outside at 11 p.m.
Oh wow.
It was absolutely ridiculous. I was trying to sleep, but it was still kind of light outside.
That's weird. That would screw me up so much.
I mean, imagine those people in Alaska who get, the 30 days of total darkness and then 30 days of total light.
Yeah. Oh, the total darkness would be scary. It would be weird because I think I would just end up sleeping all the time.
I'd be kind of down. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, no, down as in a good, oh, yeah, it's nice.
Good, yeah. I'd be down for it. Let's make it dark for a month. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Just
I'd probably
switch things up.
Yeah. I'd get some work done. I don't know.
Officially a hacker. Yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes I usually wrap up my work day around 4 p.m. and then there have been days that I, decide to take a nap after work. And then when I wake up, I feel like I'm, well rested. And then I start doing like some schoolwork. It's helped to get me by, because of everything that's going on. So it's not awful, really. I think I consider myself more of a night owl. I had an odd day this past week that I just couldn't sleep and then ended up going into work. But I have to say, after not being able to sleep, and when I think it was like noon or something, I had already had 2 coffees. By 2 o'clock, I was starting to get delusional. I was like, oh, what is going on right now? I'm starting to see people. Well, that's not a good sign.
Oh boy.
Like people that are not there. So, yeah. Oh, I have news. I got my first COVID shot today.
How do you feel? How's that arm?
It hurts. It's sore
I
now.
bet.
Yeah, it is a little bit. She told me, she's like, yeah, move around. If you want to take a Tylenol, you can. But I'm like, no, it's not enough pain for a Tylenol.
Yeah.
I don't know about the second one. Did you already take your second one or not yet?
I'm officially double dosed up.
Oh,
It's Pfizer is flowing through my veins right now, and it feels good. And I didn't get sick. I didn't even get like much of a sore arm compared to the first time.
oh wow.
So
Okay. I hope that's the case with me.
the shot hurt more, but that's it.
Yeah, right. I felt it was just like a little prick. I mean, felt a little bit going in, but for the past 2 hours, I think I've been feeling like, it's a bit sore. We're gonna try and go paddle boarding tomorrow. I'm not gonna let this thing, hinder me. I'll be fine. I just don't, I mean, I had COVID last year, so I hope that I don't get any kind of symptoms, it'll be so, that would just be my luck, honestly, getting symptoms from a vaccine of something I already caught. So we'll see.
That's just the way it goes. Are you putting Augie on the stand-up paddleboard?
Yes. Oh my God. That dog has the biggest FOMO out of everything. Like he has the biggest FOMO. So when he sees us blowing up the paddleboard and taking it out on the water, he automatically thinks that we're ditching him. So he runs after it and wants to get on top of it. We already got him a life vest, because he's really dense. He's a French bulldog. So yeah, we put the live vest on him and then just grab the strap on the live vest and put him right on top of the paddle board. And he's just such a trooper. It's going to be so fun. I think I'm going to post a picture of him on Twitter.
You should. He's our little mascot.
Uh-huh. He really is.
What the hell? All right. Well, anyway, I guess with that rude interruption, do you want to get into APIs?
Let's do it. Some tech talk.
I know, finally actually getting into the tech part of the tech heads. All right, well, I guess we can start with a more broad view. So, from the perspective of an everyday user of some sort of app or website or anything, there's really no need to know what's going on when you click any sort of button or anything at all. You just know that whatever the button is actually designed to do when you click it, it should just do it. So our topic today is actually going to be going into the idea of what's going on in sort of the back end and how it actually happens. So let's actually dive into APIs.
Let's do it.
So an API, or as it's, well, actually, no, Anna, do you know what API stands for?
Application Programming Interface. Check.
Perfect. So simply put, an API is just how two apps or servers or whatever, it's how they talk to one another. Anytime somebody's using an app like social media or weather app or their banking app, literally any app that you're using, they are all using APIs because apps connect to the internet to send data to the servers, and servers handle interpreting, processing, basically everything necessary to grant the user's wish and then send it back to the user on the app. So taking a whole step back to not really scare anybody with that, I want to provide a little bit of context or, a really non-technical example. So if you're at a restaurant and you want to order something, you have to tell the waiter what you want, who then tells the kitchen what you actually ordered. So the customer is the user of the app, in that instance, and the kitchen would be the server where it's actually being made, your order. But what would that make the waiter, Anna?
The API.
That's right.
Very good analogy, by the way. Very good. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the waiter is the API. The waiter is the messenger. He not only takes your order, but he actually also usually brings it back to you. So he completes this like request response cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe looking at a more technical example, we can take like a play button on any sort of media player on your phone. And obviously that button is what enables you to actually play and pause music. So that button has code that a developer wrote to actually handle this click event that you did when you actually touched it. Even though we don't click with our fingers, but it's the same sort of idea. But what that same developer probably didn't have to write is everything that happens when you click it, such as the symbol changing from, whatever they are, like the pipes, like the two pipes next to each other, to a triangle to symbolize pausing and playing. And they also didn't have to write the code to make the audio start and stop, because that could be so much more work. If you don't know how to do any of that, you're kind of SOL. But that button is actually part of an API that's available from an app framework that was used to build the app, and by implementing the button interface, the developer is actually able to make the code run when the button is clicked. So it makes our lives as developers so much easier, just because we don't have to sit there and try to figure out how to make audio actually play without using the play method.
Yeah.
Because
right.
That's super convenient, but from scratch, that's just so insane to even think about.
Yeah.
So there's complicated code that goes into sending audio data to hardware. So luckily, there's a media player API out there that actually did the job for us. All we have to do is take advantage of the code to make the audio play.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought of like media players, like you said. I think obviously I'm not the most technical person, still like very limited in my experience, but there are things that I take for granted, and that is definitely one of them. You just assume that it's like a player that is out the box working, but there's so much going on under the hood. So that's a good point. Thanks for breaking it down.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's just, like you said, it's something that we all take for granted. Even me, I don't really think too deeply about everything I do, but when you like actually isolate like a certain thing that you're doing with your phone or whatever, and you try to, and like, it even goes back to like if you're trying to do a simple project like display today's weather.
Yeah.
Sounds like the most simple thing to do, because in most people's minds, you're like, oh, let me just pull up my weather app and show it to you. But that could take you like, depending on where you're at, that could take you like 3 hours to actually build, which is insane for doing something so simple. But yeah, just goes to show that, like you said, there is so much going on under the hood.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think actually it's funny that you mentioned the whole weather example, because that was going to be one of the APIs I was going to name at the end. Because when I was at the boot camp, we were encouraged to use the Open Weather Map API to get like weather data, and that is one that I recommend to beginners for sure, because it's so easy. It's free, you can get your API key and then start using and pulling some data. But then, like you said, it's coming out all raw, and then you have to make it pretty if you want to show it on a web page or app or something. So
right,
that's where the talent and the challenge also lies.
Very true. Yeah, it's with these APIs, it's the job of the development team behind whatever the main project is, like weather, for instance, like the people working at Open Weather Source or anything like that. It's their job to treat the construction of APIs just like anything else that they're building for the main project.
Yeah.
So they treat it, with the software development lifecycle of designing, testing, building, managing, versioning. It's just as important as anything else that we're building. And that also goes into the fact that they're only as good as their documentation, I've always thought. Mm-hmm. Because I've definitely had my experiences with trying to use an API where maybe I'm not smart enough to understand the docs, or the docs just suck. So,
yep.
I mean, otherwise they're Hardly.
I have a real world example that just I came across this week
Share,
about
please.
shitty documentation. I so for the class that we're taking, yeah, let's bleep that out. But for the class we're taking, our clients, one of the big requirements for our product or web app is to display books that she uploaded to this website, and they convert it into flip books. So when you get it out, you can embed it on your page as an iframe or whatever, and it converts the PDF into a little flip book player or environment or whatever. So it makes it look nice. And then I was like, okay, so she uploaded all the PDFs to this app and she has this entire library. How are we going to embed everything into our page? Oh, they have an API. So I go onto the web page, and guess what? You have to convert every single one. If you want to use the API, you have to convert every single one by hand. And you can't do the library in like one go. Like you can't pull all the books, with like one method. So, and the documentation was very misleading because they say, oh yeah, we have, here you go. You come to our homepage. There's developers tab. Boom, your API. You can get one book at a time. So I was like, oh man, don't advertise that. You guys are just saying that you have an API, but I mean, is it really of use if we're trying to pull 100 books and we're going to have to do it by hand now? Like, and the docs were, again, the docs were super like very limited, unfortunately. It's like, okay, here's your API key. What's the base URL? How do I, what's the parameter name? And those are things we're going to get into. But how do I structure this? Just a lot of trial and error and a lot of pain, to have to go through. Had they only been a little more, I think, detailed with their documentation, we could have saved some time. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, that goes into the idea that, to maybe put it into perspective for those who aren't developers, but you can think of APIs also kind of like products, like anything that you would just buy. Like, I don't know, let's say like you get a Hydro Flask. And like you go to the Hydro Flask store, you get like the official one, and it has all this all these great reviews for it, and it works really well. It keeps your drink cold, whatever. But there's also the knockoff versions of it that aren't very good, but they copy the design as much as they can and the tech behind it, but they can't achieve it completely because maybe there's a patent or whatever. You can kind of look at APIs like that because sometimes there's really, really good APIs for a specific sort of industry that you're trying to access, like weather. And then there's like the discounted, terrible version of it that might be it might be lacking in terms of documentation. So
right.
You can kind of look at it like that, just products in a way, because they're for developers to use when we're actually building things to make our lives a little easier or whatever.
Yeah, no, like you said, I 100% agree. I think it's very telling when you start to sift through the documentation in that kind of, gives you like a balance or like a gauge to, see what quality or like to what extent do they offer, functionality through their APIs. Because if the docs are disorganized or they're very limited, then you can kind of, expect not to be able to do much with the API. But then if you see that everything is organized and, there are a lot of examples with different languages. Like you can do it with curl, you can do it with JavaScript, you can do it with Python, like if they really go into all of the or if they even have like sandbox, environments on the API docs that you can test your code, then it shows that they went through the trouble to make sure that, their developer users that are going to be implementing the APIs are well equipped, that they're not going to have to reach out with a question or go elsewhere and Google something, because their docs are like the best resource for that API in particular. So, yeah. So I think, tie into what you already stated about, like the premise of an API, the way I interpret it. I think the restaurant analogy is a very good example for, someone to understand in layman's terms. But basically, yeah, an API is a bridge between applications. And, in that case, like you said, you have your customer, and then the kitchen will be the server. So you can, I think you can get, and you can also give, but you can also receive information. Or like it's kind of like an exchange of goods. In this case, obviously, you're talking about data. So I think I wanted to bring up that the two most, I think, recognized or most common architecture for APIs are REST and SOAP. I've mainly particularly worked with RESTful APIs, and REST stands for Representational State Transfer. And that's an architecture where you have 4 methods that you can work with, which is a GET, where you're trying to receive information from the source. You have a PUT method, where you can update the information at the server or the source. A POST method is creating, a new record at that source or the server, and delete, which is self-explanatory.
Popular interview question.
Oh, is it? I don't know if I've ever gotten that.
I've gotten it twice.
They really asked, like, the methods, the like RESTful methods.
Yeah. So everybody note that. Get, put, post, delete, and know what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you know that. That's a big one, especially because I think RESTful is more widely used nowadays than SOAP. So yeah, that's as far as, the architecture of these APIs go. And then going into the structure of the URL, you can start off with a base URL, which would be, let's say, well, don't quote me on this. I don't know if the Spotify API is spotify.com, / API or whatever, but essentially that's what it would be. And then after, the API would have like another /, and that's where you start your parameters. And your parameters can be, let's say, song equals, and then maybe like an ID for that particular song,
That's exactly it, because I've used it.
Oh, you have? I'm just spitballing here. I'm so glad that this is, working out, because I'm just spitballing it.
Yeah, we took advantage of like playlist ID or something, because and we had to make we basically had to make a button that retrieves a curated playlist based on which button you press. So if you pressed happy, you would get a playlist of mostly happy songs in a major key, and in titles that included the word happy, stuff like that. And then, sad, obviously you would get songs in the minor key that included like sad, emotional sort of things. But yeah, anyway.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's, I think I had a little side project that I started using the Spotify API, which by the way has very good docs. I know that, Spotify, it is known as a tech company. And I'm sure that, like they take very good care of their API documentation. They're constantly updating it, making sure that, it includes the latest and greatest information about what it is, like its potential and what you can get out of it. So, for like a little project, if you have a Spotify account, I think even if you have the free plan, you can probably get, the authentication values, like I don't know if it's an API key or if it's like client secret, that kind of stuff. Basically, you can get, your authentication parameters and all that to be able to, test it out. So that goes into parameters and values. What are they? So like I said, with the Spotify API, you would have a song, which is considered the parameter name. And all of that would be laid out in the API documentation. And then the value is actually what you're expecting to get out of it. Like if you're looking for, I don't know, name a good song.
Happy by Pharrell Williams.
There you go. Yeah, right. So perfect. It's a great song. So if you're, if you want to get the ID for that song, I think you can, you can use a get method to pull like a whole list of of songs by Pharrell. or maybe songs, with the mention of the word happy in the title. I'm sure that you can really get creative with how you want to pull that kind of information, and then it would give you a response. And the response is what you're getting back from the server. That may be structured in a variety of ways. In particular, for like Spotify, you're probably going to get a JSON response, and a JSON is a JavaScript object notation where it's very neatly organized. In curly brackets, you're going to have a key and a value. So a key would be the title of the song, or the word title rather, and then you have semicolon, and then the actual value, which would be happy, and then it goes so on. Obviously, you're going to get more information about that particular song, and maybe like the author, the singer, the duration, the year that it was released, you name it. So that, I think, covers, like the parameters and values. We briefly touched on authentication. A lot of APIs require authentication because they want to see, I think, it's a way to ensure that you have the right access to that information. You have the right to get that information, because obviously they're furnishing you with data. They want to see who it is that's pulling it, to what frequency you're pulling it. They want to make sure that they control, those things. So with Spotify, like I said, you have to, make sure that you get your authentication details, so you can test it out. With the other API, I think that I mentioned, Open Weather Map, you also can sign up for a free account, but then again, they give you an API key that you would have to implement in, your authentication records before you can get either like you can run a get method. And then, yeah, it depends on, the API structure, whether it's going to be basic auth or OAuth.
OAuth 2.
OAuth 2, right? Exactly. There are so many different authentication methods. So, that varies from developer to developer.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think the last thing I wanted to say is all of these, all of this information regarding APIs, it may seem overwhelming, but back at the boot camp, I think the first thing that they shared with us was not, just the definition of what an API is, but how do you see anything from your end? Because it's hard to visualize when you start to explain like what an API is. It can sound very complicated. So how can you get anything from an API? Postman. Postman is, a program that I can't recommend enough. I still use it to this day. I was actually just, testing it out at work, either on Thursday or Friday, so like a few days ago, where you can get your base URL, your parameters and your values. Everything is very nicely laid out. It will tell you where to drop each one of those items, and then your authentication details. And then you click on send, and there you go. You get, your response back from the server if you have all of your details correctly on there. So it's very cool. And I think it's an app even for like advanced developers, like if you want to create an API yourself. So check it out. Download it for free. It's on Google.
Well, as an advanced developer over here,
seasoned.
I use Postman. Just kidding. I use Postman almost every day at work, and yeah, definitely recommend that tool as well. But I actually want to kind of comfort some people who might be scared with everything that we've just laid out. But it sounds like it takes a whole village to build an API, right?
Yeah.
But if you're a developer or you're learning, you can actually make your own API in less than an hour. Maybe even like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on how comfortable you are with some basics. But
yeah,
it doesn't have to be elaborate or anything. You could literally make an API about burgers where you provide like going back into kind of what you said with like the Spotify API. You could basically mimic the idea of any API. So let's say you want to build a burger API. So you want to provide the name of the burger, an array of the ingredients that were put in the burger, a short description, an address of where to actually get this burger, and whatever else you want. So this would involve creating a database, which also sounds super scary, but all you really need to know how to do is to create a JSON file with an array of objects, which is, like you said before, the curly braces and the parameters and values, which when you look at it, it's really, really super straightforward and simple. So it's really not as scary as I'm putting it, but you would create a JSON file with an array of the objects that include everything that I mentioned earlier, the burger, ingredients, description, all of that. And then you would install some sort of maybe JSON server, I think, that might do some of the heavy lifting for you in terms of having a live server for you to actually access the data on local hosts.
Yeah.
And aside from writing a quick server script to actually have it listening on different ports and checking a few other files that you may have made and deploying it on Heroku, that's all you really need to do in order to actually have people access your burger data.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like a lot if you don't really know any of that stuff, but
right.
Literally 15, 20 minutes worth of making a file. There's really not much coding whatsoever.
Right.
Lots of it has already been done for you. So if you haven't made an API before, totally recommend it. Maybe not make a burger API, make something useful.
Yeah, right.
Maybe that others could use, or just something you can make an API of everything in your house. Candle is in the living room, and you can do it that way. Just whatever you want to do, whatever helps you kind of understand APIs. Because once you build one, then you really start to understand how to use the other APIs that are out there already.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool. Which I actually have a whole laundry list of APIs I want to recommend.
Yeah, I think I just went into two. The Open Weather Map API, because I found out about that through the boot camp, and then Spotify API. I love it because their docs are so nicely laid out. I have to say, it's underestimated how pleasant it is to read nice documentation. Oh my gosh. I actually, I don't know, just free time. If I find a nice, a company that offers an API, APIs, and they have a really nice documentation, I love to go through it just to see, because you can tell that they put so much effort into it. And probably it also shows that they put that much effort into it because people are using it. If people are using it, it's because it's good. So, it's good documentation cannot go unnoticed. It's very, very important. Just like, any aspect of business, if you document what you do well, then other people can do it and can recreate it. So yeah, look for, especially as a beginner, I think as an entry level, look for something that is widely used, so you can go through their docs, but you can maybe also go on Google. And if you post a question, maybe someone has already asked that question, and it will be on Stack Overflow or whatever in the, another kind of forum, because, that API is very popular. So it might help you out, to bring your project to fruition. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you are stumped on a project to actually build, like you said, you can just look up cool APIs, which maybe you won't even have to do, because I actually want to show you some. So some fun APIs for people who are maybe just getting started or want to build something because they're bored. One of them that I found recently is BreweryDB, which is how you can actually get data on local beers and breweries. It's a little specific, so I don't know if you're building something, you're like, oh, this could use the BreweryDB, but that's a cool one.
Yeah.
Of course, the NASA API is a pretty heavily used example too, because you can get the weather on Mars, you can get the astronomy picture of the day. Reddit is also, I don't know if you've ever used Reddit, but it's so easy, because all you have to do is go on the subreddit that you like to go on, and then you put .json at the end of the URL.
No way.
That's all you do. There's no authentication keys, no tokens, nothing.
Oh my God, that's how the hedge funds are getting the highly traded stocks from Wall Street bets. I bet you they're using the Reddit API.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, as you said, the most common one that is out there for beginners when they're doing like, oh, my first project API is that open
Uh-huh.
weather map to actually quickly build a weather app. YouTube's API is also pretty cool. You can, grab comments, video titles, most viewed videos, whatever you want to do with your app. But yeah, as you mentioned also that Spotify's docs are beautiful. I couldn't agree more. It was at a point when I first started learning APIs and how to really read docs and everything that I was using it, and I was able to make what I was building work through lots of headaches, but I got through it, and the docs have only improved since then. So I recommend doing something with music because that's kind of easy to do.
Yeah. No, I love the Spotify API is so cool. I no, I mean I have unfortunately this habit. I don't know. It's probably something that goes around with developers. I think. But you start like a project and then you're like, oh yeah, it's an amazing idea. After like a week, I was like, oh, I'm just moving on to the next idea, or I just dropped it. Unfortunately, I do have some unfinished, repos on my GitHub, but it's still, I can't say enough good things about the Spotify API
Yeah,
and like 5 stars.
absolutely. 5 stars. Well, do you have anything else to actually go into about APIs?
I think we covered pretty much, all of it. I think, to put everybody at ease who like, entry level or like beginner listeners that are trying to get into programming, similar to what we talked about last week, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Don't think too much into it, really you like you said, you can create a very quick, simple API about burgers or whatever it is that you want to, showcase to your friends or share, just to, get your like feet wet. I mean, honestly, it's so much more fun to do something with an API than sending someone a CSV file. So, build that API. Yeah, use Postman. It's very cool. You can find tons of tutorial videos, and yeah, really, just like try a little something out. I think that those are my 2 cents.
Definitely. I think a few months ago, I actually, since I'm pretty new to Portland, we started actually building our own database of restaurants that we like and logging them in the API and just keeping track. So I have a dashboard that I can actually filter down by the rating that we gave it and the price that we gave it, and of course the what's the word? The type of food it is, like pizza or Japanese, or all that sort of
Sure.
stuff. So, if you want to do that, that's a really good idea too, because maybe not during this time, it's not as easy, but if you want to log your hometown favorite restaurants in your new API that you're going to build, like I recommend doing that too, because that's pretty easy to generate, and it's also usable if you're not trying to think too hard about what you want to eat. You can just go to your little thing that you built
Yeah.
and take advantage of that.
Right. I was just gonna say, actually, did the one API, another example came to mind. So as you know, I am a big, big Formula One fan, and the season just started.
Hmm.
There is a free API that you can get data from. It's very cool. I actually last year started doing a little project with Jupyter Notebooks. I don't know if you've heard of it, right? Jupyter.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I started doing a little project, to pull like use the API to pull the locations of all the race circuits and then overlay that on a map. And because I wanted to practice both with, the API and also with Jupyter. And that was another one. I mean, for, like any racing fans out there, like you can get free data. I don't even know if you need a key. I think that their API is just public. You can get all the data. Obviously, this is not like team data, so it's not like specific to each one of the drivers and their teams, because all of that is intellectual property. They're not going to share that much information, but the organization, or the team, the person who's running this API, they keep track of a lot of statistical data about the sport, and they, as far as I know, they update it like very frequently and right after any race weekend. So it's very reliable. It's so cool, so cool. So I can't recommend that one enough. Their docs are very good too.
Well, that's all that matters. Like I said, their APIs are only as good as the documentation provided. But that actually goes into something I remembered about from the boot camp that I haven't really used in quite a bit, because I don't know, I'm pretty lucky. I use good docs and whatnot whenever I do take advantage of APIs. But one thing that we took advantage of in the boot camp when I was in it was Rapid API.
Rapid?
Did you ever use it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well,
I'm sure it's a big one.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's this site that
you're like,
allows
it's
you
huge and you don't know.
It's huge, dude. It's so nice because it allows you to connect to thousands of APIs through that site with a single account. So you don't have to worry about API keys or anything. You just do it through the site, your one account, and you can use like all the APIs that are actually a part of Rapid API. Not all APIs are, of course, but a good chunk of them are. So it's pretty huge, considering that tons of APIs actually require all those things to actually keep track of your keys and tokens and logins. And I don't know, it's just such a hassle when you're actually building an app that you actually have to keep track of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can build your own API and monetize it through Rapid API so others can use it and you can make money.
There you go. I think that was one thing. I'm so glad that you brought it up. There are tons of companies that through their API, essentially I would say it's like, it is probably considered software as a service, so you can monetize that service by providing access to data. And it is, that obviously there is maintenance, there is upkeep, but it's something where it will take effort to, get it started in the beginning. But can you imagine building an API from scratch, and it's something that people actually want to use, like enterprises, that is something so valuable, because it's passive income. You build it once and then you have to maintain it. You probably have to add more features based on, what your clientele is looking for. But it's still, a robust piece of software if you build it right, and you can make very good money out of that. So that's another, I think, a very good angle to look from too. Like if you're looking for, a way to find a little side hustle there, why not?
Definitely. This is sort of related, sort of not, but like if you're looking for something to actually build in terms of an API, I actually just remembered that Starbucks, of course, has an API, but there's also this guy named Winter. He's one of a few people who actually participate in this thing called Starbucking. Have you heard of this, Anna?
No.
So Starbucking is basically when you the whole idea of it is to go around and go to as many Starbucks as possible. So this guy Winter, he's been to 15,000 Starbucks.
Wow.
He's been doing it for probably a decade. He's been doing it for such a long time. I don't know, he's such an interesting dude. I follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and he's always just like, this day in Starbucking, because he kind of slowed down now because of COVID. But
yeah,
super cool guy, and he is actually a developer too.
Oh yeah, really?
So he has kept a database of every Starbucks he's been to ever since he started.
Can we put this guy on the list too? Wouldn't that be amazing?
He's already on the list too, for sure. Yeah.
That's so
cool. I've been thinking about that one. I haven't really pulled the trigger on it yet. But yeah.
Yeah, right. No, that's very cool. Glad you shared that. Yeah. What can you get out of the Starbucks API?
It's a good question. I don't know. Wait, actually, now that I think about it, I think it's super limited.
Oh, is
if
it?
There is one. Yeah, because they actually, from what I understand, they don't make it public the exact number of Starbucks that are actually open. I don't think. I'm gonna do a little number crunch on that. Oh, you have to log in and all this shit. Well, anyway, I don't know. I don't want to spend too long on this. That's interesting. I'm going to look into that because I know they're so private about things. Like,
Yeah.
how much can they actually put in their API? I don't know. Maybe they can put like prices and stuff, but then it's also localized. So,
Yeah. I was gonna say because there are so many companies that I would love to, get into. I don't know, explore their APIs. Like I don't know, Apple. Like the most valuable companies in the world. But that's like I think you need to have you need to be a partner or whatever. So you probably have to pay a hefty bill to get into that if they even allow you to, because maybe they're just trying to keep everything like internal.
very
They don't
true,
even
yeah.
they don't even release like they used to release in their yearly or like quarterly reports how many devices they sell, and they don't even do that anymore. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's but other than that, obviously, that's like that's an enterprise. But with when you're talking about like a smaller, I don't know, like single developer, or like a little um individual running an API, or even other companies like with the open weather map API, you can get free access to all the like everything that they have to offer. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, there is a
Yeah,
lot. I mean,
look out for those. Don't go for the
yeah, don't go for the Apple.
strictly corporate ones. Like even this week at work, I had to connect to some APIs that I know aren't public and nobody else knows about them or accesses them, but basically directly emailing the developer who helped build it. So
Cool.
those aren't as fun, but and they're usually much more work, but it's useful skills to actually know because otherwise I wouldn't be able to actually get everything that I need to get for my job. So
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think APIs are very beneficial and they're not going anywhere. So I think that's why, we dedicated a whole episode to giving it an intro, because as an entry level, as in a mid level or senior, you're going to be using APIs, and, you have to recognize the value in that. So find some fun ones and practice.
oh yeah. Well, I already kind of recommended Rapid API, but I know you have a couple things to recommend to the listeners.
Yeah, so API aside, this week I wanted to recommend a few things because I've been, Victor and I have been talking about this like kind of like off the record, but I've been dabbling in the stock market and crypto and whatever. So I had to get
Dabbling.
myself some, yeah, I had to get myself some GameStop shares, and I found a cool, a couple of cool tools. One is called Trading View. The charts are so nice, and you can sign up for a free account. The features are not as limited as you would think for a free account, but it's very cool to be able to track, the timeline of that particular stock. And obviously, I don't know how to do any technical analysis, so I've been, watching some videos of other people doing it. But that's a good tool. And then Tiblio is another one. I think that one you have to pay to get access, or like the cheapest plan is still obviously paid. But yeah, so many cool tools. And then you can also try and find an API that will give you stock market prices of a particular share you're looking for, and then make the chart on your own. So why not? I think that's the perfect example of how to use an API to build something fun. I should build it. I think I'm giving myself advice and not taking it.
Take your own advice.
Yeah, I should take my own advice and build one.
I've been thinking about integrating my limited Python knowledge into some sort of like financial analysis sort of thing, like beyond personal finance, like stocks and
Yeah.
a bigger picture sort of take on it. So I should probably take your advice too, and maybe actually hop on that because I've already built like my little demo of my finance tracking app. I can put that on the side and maybe learn something new while
Yeah.
I'm doing that and thinking a little harder about it now that I have like the minimum sort of functions in it. So
Right.
maybe that should be the move. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed. I haven't coded anything in a couple of weeks, I think, because the last thing I did was with like that, Google App Script or whatever, because I was using Gmail and Google Drive. So obviously that was the most suitable one, but I haven't done anything with Python in a couple of weeks. So that would be, a fun one to do it the right way, I would say, like do some planning and then think about like the system design and how to approach, like the requirements. But it can start off small and then find an API that would help. But yeah, that'll be a cool little side project. That's for sure. I'll add it to my list.
I think I would too. All right. Any sort of last words or anything interesting that you saw in the news this week?
Get your COVID shots, kids. In Florida, they actually lower the age. I think in a couple of days here, like in April, people 18 and up are going to be able to. I am not in, above 40, which is what they had, like the last, requirement or the rules were. But I just went on the CVS website and signed up. No one gave me any trouble. Just walked in there today, for my appointment and got my shots. So get your shots, do society a favor. Let's put this thing to bed already.
I think everybody's so sick of it now. Let's just
I know, right?
get through it.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I have some kind of cool news. I remember last week I mentioned the apartment that had the sensory deprivation tank in it.
Oh yeah, right.
So we pulled the trigger. We're doing it.
Ooh, look at you! That's so fun.
I'm so stoked. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty nice upgrade.
Yeah.
Not too far away. We're going to be exactly where we want to be, where it just makes the most sense for both of us, and
yeah.
Brand new everything. It's gonna be super fun. I'm really, really stoked.
Ooh, that's awesome. I'm happy for you guys. We actually just went to look at an apartment because we want to move, but we still have a few like months at this one here. And oh my God, all the fun amenities that, like newer apartment places are coming up with, it really makes you want to move every year. If you don't own a place, it makes you want to move because there's always like another place that's newer that has more interesting things. Like for us, it has like a huge dog park and we have a dog. So, that's
And you get
cool.
that special. You get a special for a year. You just take advantage of the special at a new place.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I'm happy that you guys, found one that you like.
Yeah, and it seems like a place that I wouldn't want to move out at the end of like the first lease. I don't know. I don't want to speak too early because I said that about this place and here we are. But we'll
Right.
see. It seems pretty much like one of the last places I would like to rent. So
Gotcha.
'cause
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play Manhattan boy and rent forever.
Yeah, no,
So
exactly. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking too. It looks like, here in Florida, it's so competitive now. It's very much a seller's market. So, people are scrambling. I know a lot of people at my job that are currently like looking to buy houses. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not currently looking yet. I want to finish school first, but we'll see. And like you said, it's definitely worth, having your own place because then you get to do what you want with it and don't have to worry about renewing every year, so yeah, it's very rewarding, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
The time will come.
The time will come.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's it, then I guess this has been another Tech Heads episode.
Yeah, about APIs.
I know all about APIs. I hope everybody stays safe out there, and we'll see you all in 1 week.
Peace, guys. Thank you.
Peace out. I didn't mean to do both of them.
That was so good, though. Boom.
All right. I'm keeping that in. Later, guys.